Okay, so you've watched a couple of Nielsen tapes, and by the way, you notice that the CEO of the company is also the chief diversity officer, and he is talking about making sure that they have sample sizes in different to reach different groups that advertisers want to reach. A little more information about Nielsen, not too deep like a lot of these promotional videos are to reveal too much of the methodology, but gives you a little more of a feel for it, I hope. Ratings. Nielsen does ratings. And isn't that what the Film Network, which we all watched, is about? Basically doing just about anything on camera to drive ratings. And if the ratings go up, you charge more for your time, and your company makes more money. And this film is satire on that topic. But after all, isn't that exactly what people are accusing Facebook and other sites of doing? Having, let's say, borderline dangerous content, if not outright dangerous content, on the site, in the news feeds, etc. Knowing that that pushes audiences up, that pushes engagement up, and that audiences and engagement are what advertisers are paying for. Facebook, just like the network, the fictional network in this film, has a business model that's based on selling advertising. This is a modern TV with all the things we look at on the screen, by the way. Notice the antenna TV is an option, but I don't think there's too much of that anymore. Cable box, game console, and all the streaming services, first of all, right? By the way, you can't, unfortunately, I apologize because the text here has been cut off. I don't think I can extend the bar. Let me see if I can. Okay. New TVs also measure. The reason they're cheap, the Roku TVs and other TVs sponsored by Amazon and some other folks, the reason they're so cheap is that they're tracking your data and they're selling your data, just like your computer, and all your visits to the web are tracked, and your mobile phone is tracked in so many ways, geographically and in terms of what you visit. Now your TV sets, the smart TVs that are connected to the internet, like this one, are watching what you watch and doing a better job of it, arguably, than Nielsen, and learning things about you. So Nielsen is just kind of, for the programs, it's letting networks and advertisers know who watches programs and how many people watch programs. But if TVs are going to be smart data collectors like Facebook, they will learn more about you as a person from understanding what you watch and what it says about you in terms of your likes and dislikes and your psychographics, your hobbies, your interests. Netflix already gets a fair amount of data on us, and it's using it to try to recommend different things for us, but okay. But anyway, so the concept here is that as we move into more and more of these smart TVs. What Nielsen has been doing is just the beginning of people getting, in a way, our information, monetizing our information, at least in exchange for our information. With one of these TVs, we get a cheap TV that isn't too bad. Now, we spent a fair amount of time when we talked about radio discussing the ratings and the methodology, and you remember the people meter and the person who wears it, and it's not supposed to put it in her purse and things like that. We also talked about the fact that even though you're listening to the radio, you may not really be paying attention in many cases, etc. So I think as a smart marketer, I know all of you are, you need to ask yourself, so am I really getting these eyeballs? Am I really getting them? Are people really paying attention? Are they getting up and leaving during the commercial pod? Is the TV a background noise? Particularly these days, we haven't talked too much about this, but we all know it's the case that lots of times when the TV's on, you're on your phone or you're on your laptop doing other stuff. You're multitasking, or you're looking up, like I always do. I'm going to Wikipedia and reading about all the actors in the movie. I'm reading about the movie and where it was shot, or, who knows what. But, right, so just be a little question numbers, how they're derived, and really think it through before you bank on anything. Okay. Now, TV creative, ad creative, we talked about a little bit. We talked about infomercials, and we showed 15s, and we showed a bunch of early commercials. Also, while the medium was first getting off the ground, they tended to be longer. They were also in black and white. Many of them involved actors actually doing the commercials for the advertisers, which TV doesn't do anymore. So as we said before, radio does. But most of TV is pre-recorded video, the ads. It's done in different time lengths. The most common length is 30 seconds. There are also 10-second and 15-second ads. Not too many 60-second ads anymore. Now, it used to be that if you sent an ad to one of the 3 major networks to air, you were making any kind of competitive claim or anything, you had to submit proof. I haven't been in that business. I haven't asked anyone about it. I really should have, and I apologize, but I remember when I was the account executive at the agency working on Cascade dishwasher detergent. Whenever we shot an ad, Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati would send by like a courier service boxes full of glasses that we were going to feature in the ad. Usually like a goblet type of thing, and they had to have been washed in real Cascade and a real dishwasher, and they had to be washed in our competitor in a real dishwasher and verified with paperwork and everything else. And those were the ads we could choose from, a box full of glasses, of goblets. And I remember our creative director, Norm Weil, pulling them out very carefully by the bottom and looking, let's use it. We can use this glass, or let's use this one, And we'd shoot the ad, and there would be the demo section. We talk about Tabasco, and the support section, and P&G ads are often very strong. They're kind of in the middle of the commercial where you cut to, the side-by-side view of a spotty glass with a competitor and a clear glass with the Cascade. And we would use those glasses, and then when we sent the ad after it was finished to air on the network, we had to get it approved by the network. We'd have to send over the paperwork from the P&G labs that supported that the glasses were washed properly and that what we were saying was true. So again, I don't know how much of that goes on anymore. I certainly doesn't for political advertising. Anyway, I've mentioned this before, but remember TV is a visual medium. Visual medium is called television, right? Not teleaudio. So if you really want to see if a TV ad is effective, turn the sound off. It needs to tell the story in the pictures. It needs to have the name of the product, so you can see it. I mean, the story and the basic message needs to be understandable with the sound off. And here you've got the point that we talked about before, which is that cable networks are airing longer and longer amounts of ads, so understand that. It's also the case that people have, in the last 10 or 15 years, been getting better at avoiding ads with TiVos and DVRs and things like that. So where you are in the pod is important for your creative, right? Anyway, so getting back to making our buy, we talked about creative just a little bit as a sideline. Probably come back to it once or twice before we're done. So I've negotiated with the station from the squad report. I'm going to tell the station I'll pay you 50% of what the squad says your early fringe is selling for. And the station comes back and we negotiate. I commit to a certain number of spots on certain programs. I'm going to air my 30-second commercial. And then before I conclude the deal, I'm going to push if I can get some value added. If I can get some what are called billboards or sponsorships on local news, remember the local station, if it's a local station I'm negotiating with, produces the local news. So I could say, could you let me sponsor the weather report for a week? And the local weather brought to you by Acme Tires, so you maybe try to negotiate some value added as part of your deal. And you get a contract and everything's written up and signed. Station runs your spots. Nielsen checks the ratings. You bought a certain number of rating points from the station. It's pretty much guaranteed. And if the Nielsen ratings of the spots after they've run and the ratings come up short versus what you bought, the station will give you a make good. They'll run more spots in subsequent weeks. Some will guarantee 100% of the delivery they contracted. Some will do 90%. But in a way, it's a kind of it's a fail-safe kind of method here. And if the station over-delivers, well, it's all to your benefit. You get to keep that. Oh yes, as I said about creative, I do want to talk about one more thing with TV creative, and that is research. When I ran marketing at 800 Flowers, right around the time the company was about to go public, we were doing more and more business on the internet. 800 Flowers was a very early e-tailer and built up its website. They've always been very smart about technology, 800 Flowers. Very smart. Because of being able to sell online where the customers could look at pictures of things, as opposed to over the phone where you're just saying, send me a nice bouquet of flowers. Well, how about some red ones? Roses? Yeah, roses, Very hard to sell baskets of goodies when you can't look at them, especially if you're a flower company. But online, they could show pictures of food and different kinds of gifts. So when I was running marketing, we decided our push when we were going public was to define ourselves as offering more than flowers. So I'm just showing you one little more note about what you can do before you run a big TV schedule. I'm going to cut now. I'm going to show you the ad we produced and then show you what we did after we produced the ad, before we aired the ad, what we did to make sure that the ad was communicating effectively.